for Hero. That was kind of the really big surprise there after Huck made it out of the group in first.
No, it was a fantastic performance by the IG Zerg, and hopefully next week Maxed will be able to show us some awesome Protoss play as well. Of course, next week is also the week where we will see our reigning champion in action, Polt, and players like Chet, Minigun, Jones. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But for now, we're going to focus on Taeja versus Alive. Liquid Taeja is our blue Terran in the right bottom side of, yes, that's right, guys. They're the lowest point. The very first time here in WCS America Premier League. At least as far as I remember. It may have happened once or twice, but that's it.
His opponent in the top left-hand corner. Former Evil Geniuses player, currently teamless, looking to make a name for himself. It is Alive.
I'm a little bit worried for Alive. It is kind of sad because I do feel that like he had a pretty successful 2030 and it wasn't a disaster year for him at all. He made it to BlizzCon, he made it into the playoffs of Continental Finals, he made it into the semi-finals of WCS America, he made it into the quarterfinals again. Just WCS America Season 3 was a disappointing season for Alive. He lost in the group stage, but he had a strong group as well. He lost against Pure back then. You know, that wasn't the end of the world and he was already pretty much guaranteed of BlizzCon. However, if he bumps out in round of 32 here as well, and you know, being down 0-1 against Taeja and also having Major waiting for you in the next round, it's looking very grim and dicey for Alive, and I'm a little bit worried for him.
Yeah, I'm a little worried as well, but I think if Alive is anticipating a little more, you know, you watch those first few games and you're like, oh, okay, that's how you're playing Taeja, but, you know, Taeja really stepped it up, and I didn't feel Alive's Marines were actually always in the best positions to deal with those Banshees last game, so I think this game, expect a little better from Taeja, and I think Alive will deliver a little better, but it is looking a little scary for him. I know that's a lot of littles, so I'll actually say it's looking very scary for him, because as we were talking about, he needs to make that impact for himself. You know, this is his opportunity.
Taeja looked like the whole different player in that second, or in that last game that he just played in the second series of the day than he did in the first one. Those were two extremely short games against Major, where Major just played very well in game 1 and in game 2. Taeja made a small mistake and then he's just like, to hell with it, I can't be bothered, I'm gonna lose so much here. It's not even worth it for me, I'm not even going to try. However, that game on Frost we just saw, that's the kind of Taeja that I actually expect to show up for today. He's once more going to move out with this small little poke that he did against Major as well. On Youngsu it really backfired. This time it might go a little better because one Marine and a Reaper will be able to trade pretty effectively against 2 Marines, especially if those Marines are on the low ground. However, where's the Reaper? The Reaper is a little late to the party. I still think that this Reaper can win that fight. And with the reactor going down right now on this Rex, okay, he has to regenerate a little bit, but then that will still be good news. Because he's going to be able to kill this Marine, then he can kill this SFV, and then Alive is going to have to pull SFVs, and his command center will be delayed. So this is a good start already for Taeja.
Yeah, the reactor just putting him in such a difficult spot after losing those, and now this Reaper, as you said, you kind of spelled out the next 30 seconds. So looking at instead what Taeja's going to be doing as that Reaper kills the SCV, he's got the factory on the way. He's going to be throwing down a second gas. We'll see if he goes for the quicker starport or what he opts to do with that, because that refinery is going to allow him a lot of tech options.
Well, he would love to kill at least another SCV, and of course the Reaper is quite a bit quicker than these Marines. One day the Marines will request jetpack as well. It's unfair, man. You're trying to catch up with this dude that's just floating around.
They should, you know, just be able to go back to the racks and just purchase a jetpack and be like, look, I don't need the full Reaper gun.
It would be kind of cool, Marine.
Just like hook me up with those shoulder pads, bro.
Man, the amazing things that would be possible. Marines with jetpacks.
That
Either
Reaper
way,
is-
he kept that SCV alive, and that's important news for Alive. Losing a second SCV would have been a bummer.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. But Taeja, he seems pretty comfortable, you know? He's not like, I have to make this happen or anything. He got one, he got the delay. And it seems like he wants to use this more for a scouting opportunity than to continue with that, you know, harass that could have resulted in that Reaper's death. So here we go. He's going to poke in for the scout, and we'll see what he can manage to
Great scout. Sees the reactor on this factory, which is important. Can already spell Hellions from this point on, as he's doing the same thing on the other side of the map. Yeah, he could kill one more SCV. Oh, sick repair there by Alive. That was a split decision, and that just saved the life of this SCV. Man, that SCV just found his bro for life. Like, people often say, you saved me, but that SCV really saved him.
Man, I'll mine this mineral patch with you forever.
What do we do if it mines out? No. I love for these
We'll move
minerals.
to a new place.
Well, never, yeah.
It's okay.
I guess they could. It's kind of like real life, you know? Like you move to a place with a lot of work, and if work dies out, then you move to the next one.
Yeah.
StarCraft is very similar.
If it doesn't, then you give up half your minerals.
Yeah, you do lose a little bit. You lose mining time, which is basically being unemployed.
Yeah.
But then when you get a new job, you expanded the gold base, so you get a sick pay raise.
Well, that's what you call big pay raise, right?
Yeah. 34 SCVs.
That's it. Exactly. Okay. We both actually came up with that joke at the same time, Roddy.
But I said it before you did.
Yep, you're better at PM. It's okay. That'd be WPM, I guess. All right.
It's all good.
Yep.
Banshee is out for Taeja, and he has plenty of Marines as well, or plenty of Hellions on the field to deal with those Hellions that Alive could potentially throw at him. What happened with those Hellions from Alive? Oh, they're over here in the main base.
I see Taeja's. They're hanging out.
Not the best anti-air Alive could potentially wish for.
Those Marines are not...
Not a single Mister is up. The engineering base not even up. This is kind of frustrating. Of course, we do have that Raven, but the Raven can only be in one place. And if there's going to be 2 Cloak Banshees on the map soon, as I believe that second Banshee is making his way across the map right now, this is once more looking like very clean and very solid play so far by Liquid Taeja.
Yeah, and with that, is there... yeah, the second Cloak Banshee working its way in right now. The Viking giving chase with this Raven.
I wonder if Alive saw all those Hellions make their way across the map. That tank is going to siege up, so at least Alive is sort of ready for this. I think Taeja shouldn't commit to this. I don't think this is going to be very successful.
Yeah, he also loses the Banshee, kind of roping it in there with the Hellions, so that worked out decently well for Alive.
Yeah, that's not what I expected to happen. I thought that Taeja would just try to arrest with his 2 Cloak Banshees and then later on follow that up with a stronger push. But still, he's in a good economic position. Third command center is halfway done. And he's doing a good job at building SCVs, as he's currently up 9 workers.
Yeah, that's really a big difference that we have there, as well as the blue flame that's going to be started up for Taeja, as he is opting, it looks, for
Taeja doesn't have a single siege tank, correct? These 2 tanks from Alive could actually cause... Well, that's too close, Alive. Why would you do that? Why would you siege up this close? I don't understand. Why would you do that, Kibbles?
I'm not sure, but both of those tanks die immediately, and now the Hellions are going to be able to pick off everything else on the ground. The Raven throws down a couple turrets to try to push it back, but that's really... those could have been shelling out damage the entire time if he was going to even opt to do that. So.
Or at least have 1 tank a little further back, and 2 tanks that close to the ramp. If those Hellions would have to run all the way around, they would take so much free damage.
I think he wanted to get the siege on that bunker, and maybe just... Did he... Were the air units lagging behind some and he didn't have vision to the high ground? That's the only thing I can even speculate on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess he didn't see all those units.
Tough spot. All right, so Alive now.
But I mean, you should know that like units from the high ground will shoot on units that are on the low ground that are standing there. But
I know the flame looks like it shoots straight, but it can shoot at an angle. All right. Specifically a downward angle, which would be really hard because you'd think it would like roast the driver. You know?
Yeah.
Well, the Hellion can turn sideways, I guess.
I guess it's just the anti-heat tank. I don't know.
I'd love to see a tank melt down. Just saying.
Like that actually burns down from Hellion?
Yeah, just see it turn to slag.
I wouldn't be surprised if Blizzard implements that one day. They've been adding so many cool death animations in this game.
Like that Marine.
Yeah, the Marines and like just a lot of units. Like it used to be all kind of dull and everything just fell apart in the same way. And these days, if units get blown up by certain units, they fly across the air and stuff.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
It's really cool.
That was actually, well, Alive is going to digress a little there and decided, we've been digressing about death animations for a moment. 4-4. Hellions on the left-hand side of the map are quite indicative of the fact that Taeja has complete and utter map control right now. And he's actually got a really nice supply lead as well.
Yeah, Taeja is just a little bit ahead in everything. Even though there are Cloak Banshees on the map right now for Alive, and one of these Cloak Banshees has found an exposed mineral line, and Taeja doesn't have a whole lot of anti-air, at least not in position. So just when I was about to say that Taeja is ahead a little bit in everything, he's going to lose a lot of workers. One Banshee will fall, but not before his scan goes down. And this missile turret will finally throw up. I love how these SVs having a repair party.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking the same thing. You're effectively decreasing the DPS that this Banshee's doing by 50%.
Yeah, Taeja still ahead a few workers, and of course he's already comfortably mining up 3 bases, even having these refineries up and running. So he's still in a good position, but at least Alive struck back a little bit there, doing some economic damage. For the first time in this series, I think.
Still wondering about that Banshee, like... What do you think's more how do you decide when you retreat with your SCVs versus... I haven't seen too many pros doing that. You know, just issuing a big repair. And
it works sometimes. The problem is that often like they will switch targets and then it works if you have like 2 or 3 SCVs repairing 1 SCV, but it doesn't always work like that. And then sometimes like a Banshee starts shooting, and because it kills an SCV in 2 2 shots anyways. By the time that the SUVs made their way around, like the SUVs are a little clumsy and they bump into each other, so they don't always have that 3 repair going on. Often it's just a single or 2 SUVs repairing, and that's not enough. But if you have 3 SUVs repairing at the same time, yes, then you can then one SUV can just stand there and pretend to be Superman and soak up a lot of damage. It's a really cool move, but it doesn't always work out like that.
It works for Taeja because he's averaging 270 APM.
Yeah.
So.
And Taeja's SUVs are just a little smarter than most SUVs.
They've learned from their master. Yeah.
You know, like we all know that SUVs are dying pretty damn often in this game. So you have to pick the right employee, and being a Taeja SUV is probably a good choice in life. But I can see you have a bright future. You might get promoted to be a tank or a Tor one day. And
they're more of a muscle kind of guy, you know, the SUVs. They gotta carry those big drills and all those minerals all day.
Above all, they have a lot of health insurance. They're very well protected.
Very expensive though, that life insurance. All right, so this Banshee has returned, but this time it's this Banshee. Talking about how smart some of those SUVs are. All right. Well, other than that, not too much going on besides Alive getting himself a good foundation at this point of the game, I'd say, you know. He's got his infrastructure built out. I like the position he's in now with like 3 bases. He's even got a little bit of a worker lead over Taeja.
He's making his way across the map, but he has a lot of his bio stuck in these medevacs right now. This drop is most likely going to be extremely effective, but I also worry about Alive's army on this side of the map. We do have those Hellbats in those medevacs. It's mech against bio. Mech is going to most likely come out victorious in this engagement unless Alive pulls off a miraculous hold, but it seems like Taeja has a little too much over here, don't you think so?
Yeah, it's tough to tell with the medevacs and all the explosions, but yeah, I want to say the target fire from Alive was as good as it could have been. He's now going to be retreating towards the third.
Oh, wow.
Reinforcements coming, but this is still a lot of units from Taeja.
I did not expect 2 tanks being able to shut down those 2 medevacs full of units, and now Alive basically lost on both fronts. I thought worst case scenario is he's going to lose this engagement over here, but then that drop in the main base will be able to slow Taeja down at least a little bit when it comes down to reinforcements. But just 2 tanks were apparently good enough to deal with that drop. I guess Alive wasn't paying that much attention as he was worried about this massive army from Taeja that's knocking on his front door.
Rowdy, you were talking about the skill of Taeja. I was talking about the mindset of Taeja, and here we are, Taeja in a great position here towards the later stages of game number 2, maybe getting himself a confident, a very definitive 2-0 win over Alive. We're going to have to see Alive's going for what could be the last engagement of this game, coming in from all angles. Doesn't work out, and the GG is thrown in.
Just doesn't have enough. GG is called, unfortunately.